Here.
No, I'm not a writer.
Okay.
All right, Spectre, and we're back with episode 11 this week. It's so 12 in total now, I think it is. And I don't know about you, but I've just barely recovered from the hangover that is ranked battles.
I think I still need to seek out PTSD treatment for ranked battles.
Yeah, too bad.
Still need to see a therapist about that.
Yeah, too bad that wasn't part of the doubloons. You get real cash to go see a therapist for it.
Yeah.
So, like we did the last time we talked ranked, I pulled a few stats just to kind of put it in perspective, see if any of our predictions or anything like that came true. And
okay.
So, Season 3, and I use Ship Comrades because it's the easiest interface to use to kind of sort through all this stuff. Out of EU and North America, there was 716 out of 4,201 people who played ranked that actually ranked out. And so I think we all thought, everyone wanted more ranked battles. Everyone was looking forward to it. Team battles had kind of fizzled out and never really got started, at least on the North America server. And with the rewards for this one, we kind of thought there'd be a greater participation. At least that's what I thought.
I mean, this is the kind of thing that, those of us who do play, a lot of high tier battles and a lot of ranked battles got to be careful about, right? Like, I think for some of us, like, we will grossly exaggerate, maybe the portion of population who's interested in this kind of stuff. But, as what you just said shows, I think we said, only like around 4,000 players total between NA and EU.
That was the previous. That was the previous season. So
previous season.
Yeah,
okay.
I was setting you up for the, what it was this season in season 4.
Okay.
And so for that one, let's see if I can do some math because I actually broke it out separate. 4,879 is what participated this year. So really only like, I don't know, a 600, 700 person bump.
I mean, pretty small bump, all said and done, considering they lowered the requirements to Tier 7.
Yeah, that's true. So a lot less played. And let's see, on the US server, 229 ranked out, and on the EU server, 322. And so I went back and looked at, was there disparity between, total number breakdown from Season 3, Season 4, and it pretty much goes along the line of what it was previously and between the two servers. So nothing too surprising there. I think it's the same population.
So despite, the changes so that, you didn't lose a star if you rank, if you place first, and changes to how you don't gain stars from ranking up the next rank anymore, it seems like pretty much nothing has really changed.
Well, I thought this was interesting, right? So we talked about the stars and, hey, no one under 50% is going to be able to rank out. Well, joke's on us, right? So on the U.S. server,
I know one person with under 50% ranked out.
There's 4 on the U.S. server and 15 on the EU. The lowest percent was 47.53%. So I don't know if all of those losses came, rank 5 and up, or like rank 6 and up, and then they finally got together under rank 5. I don't know, man.
You happen to have the numbers of people who have under 50% win rate who ranked up in previous seasons?
I didn't go that in depth. I didn't run that one, to be honest.
We should really compare that, see if that number has dropped off, because if it has, then we at least know that Wargame is going in the right direction.
You mean if it's different people? Well,
if it's dropped off, like you said, only 4 people you said on EU ranked out with under 50% win rate.
15 under 50%.
15?
Yeah.
Okay. So
let me put that in perspective. So the highest number of battles it took somebody to reach rank 1 on the US server was 1,209, and on the EU server 1,036.
Yeah, paragons of persistence there.
I mean, that's an incredible number of games to rank out. When I think the best is somewhere around 120, and most people fall within the curve between 1 and 400, I think, is about where everyone kind of falls. That's the biggest part of that curve.
I mean, that's ridiculous. Like, rank went on for what? Like, maybe just around a month or so? A hair over a month?
Well, I missed 10 days, so I had to really like crush it for the last like 5, 6
Well, for
days.
you, it was, but I
Yeah.
mean, just like the rank season in total, I think was only like 40 days or something. I think. I'm not sure. And he
Yeah.
played 1,200 games in that time.
Yeah, 1,200 games to reach rank 1, man.
Wow. Well, his persistence is to be applauded, but can't say don't know what else to say for anything else.
Yeah, so I mean, after all of that said and done, and you got your 3,500 doubloons, and you're going to get your Atlanta 2.0, was it worth
Well,
it
that's
for you?
if you also ranked out the previous season, will you get the Flint? Otherwise, you gotta, according to the developers, you'll have ranked seasons 5 and 6 possibly to get the Flint.
Right,
So-
but I mean, for you, was it worth it?
The balloons are nice. That's all I'm gonna say. Unfortunately, I used some of it to retrain one of the captains I pulled off of my higher tier ships. But I'm still sitting on a pretty healthy net gain in credits, or doubloons and credits for that matter. So I mean, I guess it sort of was worth it. The only pet peeve I have right now is, from my understanding, is when I get the Flint, they're gonna take the flag away from me, and that I'm a little bit miffed about because
What, the
Man,
second Jolly Roger?
I think so. Yeah.
I don't remember seeing that. I do remember you talking about that, but that would just why?
Well, that's
Why?
yeah.
Why?
That's I don't know. It's like I'm guessing they're trying to use a flag as some sort of currency. So like each time you would otherwise get a second copy of the Jolly Roger 2 flag, they in their system they know that you're due for a reward ship.
That seems like a lot of
But,
trouble to put an account marker on.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that I'm misunderstanding something somehow, that, I'll be able to keep the flag and get the ship. But, for me at least, the drive to rank out was for the doubloons, for that camo, and for that 500 credits. And, I mean, I guess you could say it's sort of worth it. I already have an Atlanta, so I'm not quite sure what I will have for a Flint, because I basically don't touch the Atlanta, and I don't see any reason why I would ever touch the Flint.
Yeah, so it didn't even occur to me. As soon as I finished ranking out, I didn't even bother to try and queue up for the tier 10 league. Did you try it at all?
I tried it like once or twice, but at no point was there ever anyone in queue for that. So I didn't actually get to play any games.
So maybe we'll shoot Q a question, be like, hey, how many games of the rank 10 stuff were actually played? My guess
I mean,
is
the rank 1 stuff.
Yeah, so the tier
Yeah.
10, I mean. And my guess is it's somewhere close to 0. Maybe some of the guys who did early, like, tried it out a little bit, but...
Yeah, it's probably pretty low. I know for a fact that a lot of people who ranked out really early on, like, got together and tried to play a few games, but evidently it just wasn't worth it.
Yeah, and I don't know if modules were worth the reward. At this point, most people who are doing that are sitting on quite a bit of cash anyway. But
Yeah.
so let's talk about our predictions on the meta, and especially let's start with the carriers, because talking to Zukaku and that crew, and I'm sure they played Hirus, but for
Right.
me, coming in late, I saw nothing but fighter saipans and those stupid dive bombers, wrecking destroyers, and 2 carriers. It was obnoxious, man. It was obnoxious. I didn't see a single.
But this is one of
I didn't
those
see a
funny-
single hero
This
player.
is one of those. This is one of those funny instances where what you saw is like completely at odds with what I saw, and I'm pretty sure someone else out there has like completely different experience from what I had. But I didn't see very many carriers at all. Like past rank 5, like carriers basically all but disappeared.
There was
I know
one day where I spent nothing but carrier battles, and it's
Yeah, I
because
remember
was
you
at the,
whining about it.
Yeah, I definitely did. I was at the very end too, so like we got a lot of weird matchmaker things that happened too. So you'd have all cruisers and like against a battleship or two on the other side, and some weird stuff like that, right? And maybe like 6-on-6 destroyers with a cruiser, and then the random day of carrier battles.
Yeah, there was a lot of variance in the games that we saw, but universally across the board, a ton of destroyers. On occasion, you'll see large number of battleship players get clumped together, and you'll have like a 3 battleships on 3 battleships battle, but that was pretty rare. But you must have drawn away all the carriers, because I saw almost no carriers in my time ranking up from 5 to 1. They were just not there. But the carriers I did see in like ranks 10 through 6, I saw a pretty healthy mix of fighter and strike saipans, as well as a lot of Hiryus in both configurations. But Rangers in general seem to largely be air superiority spec Rangers, but they're also pretty rare. So, I mean, that's more or less in line with what I expected. Saipans and Hiryus everywhere.
Yeah, to me, the Mahan reigned supreme again. At least that's kind of what I saw. The Kiev, I mean, people tried to play it, and I'm sure there was people who played it really well, but again, it didn't really show up or have a strong showing like that one did. And then there was a few who stuck to the Bliskovita, which I did because of the money, not because I had a higher win rate in it. So it was by far better than the Mahan. But some people tried to bring the Japanese DDs, and it's like, it's a collective sigh whenever you see it. And there's always the guy who's like, I can totally make this work, and it's totally great. And every once in a while it does, but when you're showing up to your job of ranked battles, because at the end there, that's kind of what it felt like. You got to go with the sure thing.
So Mahans definitely were incredibly popular. I saw a fairly good number of sims, although it's still my opinion that if you have a Mahan, unless like you're just hurting for money, there's really little reason to pick a Sims over a Mahan.
Well,
I mean, I
saw a couple really good Sims players, and there are two things that made it work. One, it's got a better detection than a Mahan by like half a K, like 0.5 or something, because it's down to 6.4, and it's 3-4 knots faster than the Mahan. And so a really good Sims player would go in and spot first, let the other destroyers open up, and then would come in and finish up.
First of all, the Sims has its upsides. They're just, in my experience, just weren't so impactful that it made the Sims like a clear choice or a very close competitor. Yes, you're right. The detection is slightly better. But like you just mentioned, it's about half a kilometer's like difference. Like the base detection, Mahan is 7.7 and the Sims is 7.3.
Yeah, you can get them down to 6.
Of being able to skim that 0.4 kilometers and like ride that 0.4 kilometers effectively is like next to nil.
No, it was it worked like this, right? The Sims would be close enough, the other destroyers would be behind it, and that 0.5 kilometer distance is enough to get 2 volleys off from the other destroyers before you had to open up and you got detected, kind of stuff. So it's not about you one-on-one necessarily.
Two destroyers, like sort of like in the very beginning of the game when both destroyers are rushing for that one same cap point, like half a kilometer disappears in the blink of an eye. Like,
yeah, but no one ever does. No one ever does that. They sit at the edge and smoke up and eat torpedoes.
I mean, they eventually like sit up at the edge or whatever. But even if you were, say, in your Sims pulling up to the edge of the cap point and trying to slow down, laying smoke, preparing to cap whatever, I mean, if they're coming at you, like half a kilometer, they're going to cover that distance in no time. I mean, yes, you will get the jump. You and your team will get the jump on the other guy, but it's going to be a very, very small time window where that kicks in.
Again,
And
vastly
and
different
the
experience, especially when
Mahans,
you're against Bliskovicas too, right? So
maybe.
you still get
I mean, a Bliss is what, 7.2 base? What is it?
no, it's 7.4, wasn't it?
7.5. 7.5.
Without concealment
So
expert.
it's rough. Yeah, that's why I said base, but it's roughly in the same neighborhood as the other two.
Yeah, I saw very
And
few that
Sims
actually
has,
had
so
ground
the Sims
out
has
that.
a 0.2 kilometer detection base detection advantage over the Bliss. And I just think that between the Mahan's fifth gun and its, 3 torpedo launchers that go out to the same distance, hit way harder, and also go way faster. I just think the Mahan, in terms of just raw, power, muscles out the Sims in most cases.
I totally agree. I would not advocate taking
And
it. I'm just saying it's the dark horse. It was the dark horse of the tournament.
I just don't think its detection and whatever else it is, really tilts it that much more in favor of the Sims. The only thing that I really missed when I rebought my Mahan from my Sims was the fact that I lost about I think a kilometer or two of a main battery range, and that just meant I could no longer stealth fire certain battleships. And that sort of sucked, but the ranges at which you needed to be at from your target to stealth fire them was so great, and the shell arcs were so horrible. It was still a painful experience. That being said, I've seen plenty of people make the Sims work, so it's still a legitimate pick. I just wouldn't pick it over a Mahan if it was available to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally
As
agree.
for Kiev's, they were sort of mixed bag. Either the player was great and they didn't die immediately as soon as the battle started, and they just stayed at max gun range and just burnt down battleships all day, or just helped your team decisively win those destroyer on destroyer gunfights, or they just died and they were completely useless. Bliskovicas, War of Terror, all across the board. Scary shit. And IJ and DDs, in my time, I only saw one player who impressed me with IJ and DD play. And it was in the Hatsuharu, of all things. And other than that, they were just largely kind of useless. I mean, some of them were pretty good about giving spotting information, but other than that, they were a wash.
Yeah, I definitely sighed whenever I saw a Japanese DD in there, especially if you got a Mutsuki or something like that. You're like, come on, man, what are you doing? I got it that you're convinced that's going to work out for you, but you're just putting us behind. You're putting us half a ship behind at the beginning. And for the Kievs,
that was always the issue, right? They don't think that way. And I've seen some people make arguments that the Mutsuki, technically speaking, has the best detection of all available DDs at 6 and 7. And that their torpedo DBM is better than the Hatsuharu's because the reload's faster. But
whatever. That means you got to land all of them all the time. I mean, come on.
Yes,
I've seen
right.
that.
You're right.
It's
You're
a
right.
simple math calculation. That's not the same.
You could. Yes, you're right. It's not the same, but at the same time, it's undeniable that having your reload come up faster, having more opportunities to shoot torpedoes in a given span of time in a game is more advantageous. Right?
Yes,
there is an advantage of having a shorter reload, and the detection again. If you have detection, the skill it drops you down to I think 5.6, 5.5 with camo maybe. That's again best available in that tier, but again 9 times out of 10, the Mitsukis just die immediately right off the bat because they inevitably run into a Sims or a Mahan or a Kiev or a Bliss, and they just died.
And there's no getting away. There's no getting away in that thing at all.
Yeah, it's you. Well, I mean, you'd have to be pretty lucky or just be in a really good spot to get away. But generally speaking, yeah, those Mitsukis died very quickly and very painfully, and it was just they just did nothing at all for their team because there's so many DDs around. There's just swarming all over the place. In order to get close enough to a battleship to launch torpedoes at it, you'd have to brave that DD screen, and we're never going to get that close.
I think for the Kiev players, the thing that drove me nuts, because I like that ship, is that they would immediately, all the ones I came across anyway, I'm sure there are others that didn't, would immediately go and try and hunt battleships. So immediately you'd be down one destroyer in the fight. So if it was 4-on-4, might as well be 3-on-4. And and the really good ones will support the initial DD fight from afar, lend its guns first, and then go off hunting battleships. But, I mean, for the most part, it was like, great, here's another cruiser.
For the most part, I didn't run into that problem too much. The bigger problem I had with my Kievs were that they sat in their smoke perpendicular to the enemy too much, and so they just ate smoke torpedoes all the time.
Yeah, that.
But
there's no getting rid of that though, right? No,
right.
No one goes.
But
one goes. Whatever.
That's a problem. That's a problem endemic to all destroyers, actually. Now that I think about it, but I think you do have a point in that. In a lot of my games with Kievs, around mid to like late match, like they just were nowhere near caps or whatever. They were just always hounding like an enemy BB somewhere, which good work, but sometimes you sort of need them there to help fight for the caps and not burn down a BB.
Yeah, the games are too tight, especially when you get down there really low in rank. I mean, they're just way too tight. Margin of error is very small.
Well, yeah, I mean that's to be expected, though, right? I mean, in theory, you're playing now with a bunch of players who will capitalize and punish mistakes. But yeah, it was pretty harrowing. I feel like a lot of the time, whatever team lost the first ship just lost the game, like right off the bat, just no questions asked. Because the teams would always split the caps, right? And just whichever team was down a ship were down points, and it was onto them to make that first move, and you just had to pray that the enemy fucked up. And when that happened, try to claim as many lives as you could when they did, finally screw up, and hopefully turn the tides. But if the enemy team played safe, they played smart, like that was just never going to happen.
True story, man. So I can't remember, were Cyclones in this ranked season or not?
They were not.
Yeah.
No Cyclones.
So, thank God. I don't know. So recently, early on, and I'm probably flip-flopping here a lot on this one, and it depends on what they ask me and what battle it is, but I don't know with the new maps that they added all of that to and what the next rank season might hold. I mean, recently the Cyclone has been obnoxious, especially if you're playing in a battleship, or especially if you're like 15 or 17 kilometers away from the enemy. It's been brutal. Everyone basically sits there for 8 minutes trying to find the other team, and then, nothing happens.
I mean, on one hand, it is pretty annoying as a battleship. But on the other hand, I actually can recall some pretty exciting moments coming out of playing the Cyclone. Because, I mean, it's annoying trying to seek out your enemies, but fortunately, at least so far, like, the Cyclones tend to hit at a point in the game where both teams are still confident that they can win. And so, from what I have observed at least, is as soon as the Cyclone rolls in, both teams just bow on to the last known location of the enemy, and then you just eventually get into this awesome brawl with like a bunch of ships, and just people just start dying left and right, and that at least is pretty fucking amazing and great. The only downside is, if you're like in a Colorado or a slow U.S. battleship and the Cyclone rolls in and you're like 20 kilometers away from the nearest enemy, it's just like, okay, well, the next 10 minutes of this match is gonna, I'm gonna spend just staring at my screen doing nothing.
You'll be playing Pokemon Go or something, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, pretty much.
Well, but, no, I mean, I will say this: it has changed my behavior when playing slower battleships, and that if I'm on a map that I know has that potential, I'm putting myself in different positions than I did previously, for sure. There's no question about that now.
Right. I mean, and that's something actually I wish like Wargaming should do. Like when the map is loading, I wish they would indicate somewhere saying, "Hey, on this map, this round, a Cyclone's going to roll in at some point." That way, you know right off the bat. Okay, at some point the Cyclone's going to roll in. I need to get into a good position to capitalize on that.
Oh, so you want the loading screen with the names and the teams to show you a weather report?
I mean, it doesn't have to be like sort of. Like, it doesn't have to be like an actual weather report. Just somewhere that just says cyclone, imminent cyclone, or something like that, Something to let me know that, oh, you're going to get hit by cyclone this match, stop sniping at 20 kilometers.
Well, maybe just an indicator that says, "Hey, this is a cyclone eligible map," would be a good handy reminder instead of me looking at some written down cheat sheet now. Because after yesterday, you just cyclone. Like, God, come on. So today it's been a little different, but
Right. But overall, though, once if it rolls in and I'm in a good position for it, it's produced a lot of really fun games. I had one game at Chapayev where I basically went in and just soloed in Iowa and a Mogami. And just battleships just finally get to have that awesome brawl, that really close up, close range brawl that that at least I enjoy seeking out and having, but very rarely ever get to enjoy because usually you just get whittled down along the way.
well, let me go back and ask you a question about how do you feel because you play mostly battleships. I did a little bit during the ranked, but seeing on your team the Arizona or New Mexico or the Fuso show up on your side, and there's only two of you.
Get the fuck out. That's the only thing I can say to those players. Get the fuck out. I mean,
you're particularly salty this week, huh? It really worked you over. It really worked you over.
Just talking about ranked is just bound to make me incredibly salty, but it's just so for New Mexico at least, it sort of suffers from the same problems as Colorado, where the armor, technically speaking, is good. The only problem is somehow the ship still manages to take a ton of just straight damage from shells. And I feel like, the Warspite in its current iteration, very squishy. The Fuso is alright, but, the ability for most Fuso captains to resist the temptation to go full broadside to bring all 12 of their guns into play is something that very few people can fight.
Yeah, so the Amagi syndrome.
Yeah, so inevitably they eventually turn broadside at some point, and almost inevitably they get punished for it. And the Arizona, again, it suffers from the same problems as New Mexico. It just takes, lots of damage at all sorts of angles. But I guess if I had to pick one, I would prefer a Tier 6 Arizona. If that person for whatever reason could not bring any other Tier 7 ship, and it had to be a Tier 6 battleship, Arizona would make me the happiest, but still be quite upset.
Yeah, so I was just looking at the Arizona again today because I haven't played the New Mexico in a long time, but the guns look the same-ish. But the Arizona guns just outperform, and they're actually really good. So I would agree. Well, if I had to have a Tier 6, I would take the Arizona. But please, for the love of God, next ranked season, make it one tier. I don't care what tier. Well, let me take that back. I do care what tier, but make it one tier. Don't make it a tier range. Don't make it 6 to 7. Don't make it 5 to 6.
Well, the New Mexico's guns, technically speaking, spit out shells that fly faster right off the bat. But yes, otherwise, Arizona. I prefer Arizona. As for ranges, well, 6 and 7 is kind of weird in that there's maybe literally one or two exceptions to if at all possible bring a 7, and that was for U.S. cruisers. If you want to bring Cleveland over Pensacola, I could totally understand. And I also have heard a few times that some people took Tier 6 CDs in just to avoid the Hiryus and Saipans. But I don't know how that turned out for those people.
Yeah, I saw a Tier 6 CV battle one time, but it was way early on, so it was way higher in the ranks. But after that, I didn't see it. And I think most people, like in a Hiryu, coming up against a good Saipan player with a 15-point captain and fighter loadout, just stopped playing. And so they just kind of disappeared.
Much. But other than Cleveland, I think there's no other exceptions that I would make for ships. Maybe between the Bujioni and Shores. Some people claim that the Bujioni just they're just better with it, maybe. But again, on paper, I don't see any reason to take a Bujioni over Shores. But I think I would not mind it if Wargaming said strictly Tier 7 or strictly Tier 8, nothing else. And I also really wish they would slap a restriction on the ships that basically said No stock hulls.
Oh, well, that's a change. No stock
on
hulls,
one,
huh?
for one thing, like if you're not willing to accept, if you don't want people taking tier 6s into a game mode that allows you to take up to tier 7, you really ought to be in the same boat saying that you don't want a stock ship. Because I had a game where someone brought in a stock Colorado and he just died.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
And
I didn't even
there's
take a
literally
look
no
at that.
reason. There's just literally no reason to bring a stock ship into a rank battle. It's as simple as that.
Well, you got to be super good and be able to carry if you're going to use rank to level ships, which is what that kind of sounds like to me.
Frankly, like ranked isn't a place to be leveling ships. If you want to go level ships,
I
go
agree.
play quick play. I don't care how good you are. There's just no reason. There's just no reason.
Yeah,
No good reason, at least.
So how's too soon before the next season comes out?
I'm hoping for months.
Months?
Depends on what my
September?
therapist tells me.
October? Depends on your progression, huh?
Sort of. I mean,
What
ranked
did you
was painful, but it's like, you know what? It's just something that needs to get done. So whenever they're ready, bring it on. I just really hope we return to tier 8.
Did you run across any Scharnhorst in the rank battles?
No.
Because I think they had already cut that out pretty early on by the time I got back in.
I did not run into any Scharnhorsts.
Oh man, I wish I would have had it to do it. That would have been awesome. Would have been a lot of fun.
Maybe. I mean, the other 2 tier 7 battleships in the game are both turd buckets, but they are packing pretty large rifles, so I don't know. But if available, I definitely would have given it a try. Definitely would have given it a try.
All right, so let's just put the rank thing in the past, pretend it never happened.
Yes,
Enjoy
let's
the
turn
flow.
our eyes to the future.
Yeah,
And in this particular case, patch 5.9 is on PTRs. Although by the time most people listen to this, it'll probably was on PTR.
was been.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah, so I don't know. Have you been on the PTS? I went on for a few games just to check it out, and the first thing I noticed is that either I'm not reading it correctly, I haven't read enough about it and listened to enough things, is a fundamental misunderstanding of what the U.S. battleship armor revision is really about, because there was a lot of complaint about, I still take the same amount of damage, I'm still getting wrecked, what the hell?
Right. I guess people still aren't quite sure what's going on here.
So break it down. Break it down.
All right. So what it sounds like is, in case you don't know, Wargaming is eventually going to roll out like an armor viewer system in the port that'll allow you to view the armor layout of your ships. But evidently, a large number of ships, their armor models are pretty old, and sort of like a low polygon count kind of deal. And so basically they're sprucing up all those armor models in anticipation of people being able to see all of it. That's why if you look past in the past few patch notes, there's always a number of ships that have gotten armor tweaks. That's literally just Wargaming going through all these models and updating them and preparing them for people to be able to see them. And that's basically what it is for the U.S. battleships. We're going from a low polygon count armor model to a slightly higher polygon model for the ships. I think if you look at the official post, they post like a screenshot of like the before and after armor model, and I think it's of the North Carolina. And if you look in the old version, the nose of the North Carolina's armor is just like a flat, slab. And that sort of, I guess, is the reason why on rare occasion you would get like Citadel through the nose on the North Carolina. It's the shell hit that perpendicular spot perfectly and went through. But if you look at the updated version, it's no longer just a flat slab. It's it falls a lot closer to the actual model of the ship, the round nose of the ship. So
and sometimes people think like the round's going through the nose, and it's not. It's going over the nose into the deck and into the turret magazine, to the magazine or something like that. So I don't know. It depends
on the angle. It depends on the angle.
That'll fix like that one shot in 1,000 games that you get.
Pretty much, like these like it's almost not even a buff. It's just like a small tweak, just more places where the angle of your armor, is better modeled, and slightly higher chance of a bounce. But it's not like earth shaking changes.
Yep. Agreed. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I think
So-
the North Carolina and the Iowa are in great places, honestly. Like, the Iowa has been a lot of fun to play since they gave it its speed buff and kind of gave both guns a little bit better dispersion. I've noticed a difference. And
Well, so
I
here's
think
a
they're
question.
working out well.
Here's a question: on your high tier U.S. battleships, specifically 9 and 10, do you use the reload module, the 3 million credit reload module, or the accuracy module? Because they added that to U.S. battleships as well.
I still use accuracy. I don't use the reload.
Still use accuracy?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I do. I can't stand because the reload also makes your turrets even slower. And while
Right.
people are like, that doesn't matter, it does. I mean, I notice a difference in needing to turn my turrets faster in a lot of situations than I do where that one extra round per whatever is really going to matter, because most of the time the enemy battleships or enemy is not sitting there long enough for you to cycle and take advantage of that and press the button every time it's up.
Right.
I don't know. That's just me though. I'll take that one all day long, except on the lower tier ones, obviously, where you need the range. Because what's up with that? But
that, and you can't access it. But yeah, yeah. I still use the reload mod on my Montana. Just because my old mode of thinking was always that more rounds equals more shots per minute means more rounds spewed out, more chances to hit. But with the buffs to base accuracy and the module now being 11%, like I'm experimenting with the new module on the IO now. Part of it, actually, the reason why I did this was because of the Arizona. The Arizona is like the exact opposite of the philosophy that I had on my other battleships before, which was rounds per minute over accuracy. But since playing the Arizona and just seeing how much of a difference, like fairly good accuracy on the battleship, even if they gip your reload at 35 seconds, like it's shown that like it's still a viable thing to do. So it's something that I'm going to check out and see how that works out. But anyways, back to 5.9. While you're on the PTS, did you try out those new co-op battles that they put in?
dude, I don't want to talk about co-op battles.
Hold on.
I didn't try it yet. But come on, of all the stuff to spend time developer-wise on, you pick co-op battles? Come on, man.
Okay, so like I mentioned earlier in the show, like for those of us who play a lot of PvP and stuff like that, we tend to get this very insular look at the community where we feel like everybody, just only plays PvP. And to be fair, I generally do think PvP is the way to play this game. However, if you read through the notes very carefully, the co-op battles, like it's almost like a survival game mode type of thing in a few cases.
No, I mean, it sounds really interesting for people who want that. And I am all about, if that's your game and you want to do that and that should be in here, awesome. But what I'm skeptical about is, one, I don't think maybe there is a large community that plays that. I don't know. I didn't ask that question about stats, but I don't know if that is going to bring new players into the game and make this even like more easily accessible. Because I think in the end, what the intent really is to make it a stepping stone for people to get into the game and get assimilated. And I don't think there's ever going to be a break from co-op battles where you're fighting bots to playing PvP that's going to be a smooth transition between those two type of game modes. And while that's interesting, I think there's so much left in the game yet that, needs to be developed, and that most of the base wants that to spend time on that. I don't know. I like it. I think it should be in the game. I just wish it wasn't as high on the list, unless for some reason it was just really easy to do and they gave it to an intern to do. I don't know, but of all the things in my top 5 or top 10 or top 20, new co-op battles wasn't one of them.
All right, so I'm going to play devil's advocate here for a moment. I believe that pretty much since the game came out, this has only been like either the first or second ever change to co-op battles to the game. And I feel like I feel like it's fair it gets like a bump every now and then. Secondly, I personally am just like a fan of the sort of like the survival game mode. The whole thing where it's just you and a couple guys holding out against hordes and hordes of, AI. So that I like. The only thing I don't like is that it's buried in the co-op battles queue. Like it's not like it's kind of like the new Bastion mode where you may or may not get it. I feel like if they're gonna roll this out, it should be rolled out, with full support. Like maybe leaderboards or whatever. Ability to queue into the mode with like friends and divisions. The most importantly of all, like its own separate queue. Like I don't want to have to go change my thing to co-op battles and have a chance at getting this mode. I want just that mode separately as a separate queue to queue into. That's pretty much more or less what I want. But we'll see.
Yeah, let me know how that works out. Let me know how it is. I mean, if there's a leaderboard, I could see, and that might be interesting in the long run. But again, I don't know. Like, there are a lot of other things you get those interns on. Not really. I'm sure they're going to be great. Honestly, it's just not my game, and so I hope if you like playing co-op battles, you should be really excited about that. It's just not my game.
All right, fair enough. Next thing, voice chat in divisions.
Oh God, I'm dreading it. And
really?
So to me, all right. So I don't think you ever played. Have you played a game with in-game voice chat? I think you play a lot of Overwatch, and I think that one has in-game voice chat.
Yeah, Overwatch
right?
has in-game voice chat. Yeah.
So let me take it back, and I'll tell you why I'm concerned about it. In its current implementation, where it's just divisions, to me it's a non-issue. It's irrelevant, right? I think it's a stepping stone for them to test how it works, the effects on the game, and throughput and lag and the ping and the server and all that kind of stuff, right? Because let's face it, there are so many other third-party solutions out there that I can't imagine that anyone's ever going to go straight to, or that their voice chat, like all the other games, is ever going to be as good as any of those third-party voice, like TeamSpeak or Discord or anything like that, right? Can we at least agree on that?
Sort of.
Right, so the third-party guys, they specialize in that and they do it well, and I think for the most part, everyone who plays games these days has a familiarity with some of those. You'll find the onesies and twosies that don't. And I think it's a stepping stone to giving the whole team voice chat. And for me, if I want to talk to you, like this game, it's not fast enough that you can't type something out if you don't need to. And granted, most people don't look at the chat, but I know it's a long-winded way of getting to the point of think about all those trolls in chat who you can just ignore now having the ability, and now I got to go in and hit mute and stuff like that or whatever to not listen to them saying it instead of typing it out. If I want to play with you and I want to talk to you, like we're already in TeamSpeak, or we toss you a TeamSpeak or a Discord server or something like that, right? And then you team up with those guys and you play with them, or gals, the less than 2% that do. But to just give a greater voice to the trolls in chat, I don't know, man. I've played other games where that's been a thing, and it always ends up the same way. I always just end up turning it off.
I understand the fears, and I largely do agree that the potential for trolling is very high here. And I also, what I will say is, I do not hope that this is a direct stepping stone to voice chat for your whole team on random battles. But I do hope it does lead to voice chat in ranked, where it's a smaller team. Because, like you mentioned, in Overwatch, it's a 6v6, so we're only missing one person from each team to make it a 7v7, like it is in ranked battles in World of Warships. But in the time I've put into Overwatch, trolls over voice communications has yet to be an issue. I've yet to have to pause my game or open the menu and mute a guy to continue playing. Like that's not been an issue.
You know, the one thing I did overlook was the rank battles, and that is fair. But I can't imagine that this isn't a stepping stone to giving the whole team the ability to communicate in in-game chat. Because if it's just your division and you're already paired up with people like that, I would imagine there's very few divisions where these guys don't habitually play with each other and aren't already in a third-party chat.
I mean, again, this is like a very insular view. Maybe there's a significant population of people out there who don't have, who don't regularly hop onto third-party voice communication. Either way, like I said, like I hope that if they do ultimately roll this out to, team-wide chat on like random battles, that, hopefully the UI will have like some sort of thing that makes it very easy to mute people, to see who's talking and mute them right off the bat, or just straight up disable it. But in general, like it's an improvement. I don't really mind it that much. For me and you, for example, it's completely redundant. We're usually on TeamSpeak anyways. Voice chat in game is not really gonna do much for us. But maybe for some guys who just met or something, just randomly like, hey, I met you in the game. You seem like a cool guy. You want to div? In those cases, instead of having to go, do you have a TeamSpeak? Do you have TeamSpeak? If not, do you have like Mumble or something else? And then exchange server information and everything. Now it's just all in game. Obviously the voice quality and stuff may not be as good as third party, but in terms of convenience, like it's much better. But I feel like wargaming in general has treaded pretty carefully in any areas where players might be given an opportunity to just excessively troll each other. So I'm pretty sure even if this does see a wider rollout, it will be with certain features to ensure that player experience is not excessively harmed.
Yeah, all right. I guess those are fair points. I'm kind of Scrooged this week after the last couple of weeks and the rank hangover.
Ranked will do that to anyone. God,
not a lot. I was so glad when it was over, and now that we can get on and get excited about German battleships, which when do you think 6.0 is going to come out? You think they're going to punt till like the end of
August,
the very end?
Gamescom.
Before we get on to
battleships, before we get on to German battleships, another very important change is coming to 5.9, and that is the smoke circle mod is now finally being integrated into the client. You will no longer have to download a mod to have smoke circles.
Yeah, the one point I didn't see in there, and I'm assuming they implemented it this way, is that only your team can see the rings. I'm assuming that that's the case.
From my understanding, it's actually based on proximity. Like you have to be within a certain distance of the smoke in order to see the ring pop up. So if you're like at a battleship 15 kilometers away, you will not see the rings. But if you get closer and closer and closer, at a certain point, that ring will show up.
For both teams.
For both teams, yes.
It'd have to be very close, though. You'd have to be very close, because I guess that makes sense if you're going to use the enemy smoke, which you sometimes do, right? When you force them out of it.
Yes, absolutely.
And you want to sit into it, but it'd have to be very close. I mean,
in my experience, they only enemy smoke only crops up at like 5 kilometers or something really really close up. Like it's. I know that back when we had Earl Grey on, he mentioned that concern of using smoke rings to approximate the location of the DD who laid it, and the current mod that we use for smoke rings operates, I think, in the same manner. And in my experience, like the restrictions on when that ring pops up is pretty much eliminates all possibility of that for the most part.
I'll give credit where credit's due to some of those ranked players. Like if playing a destroyer and you're laying smoke and they can't see you because there's no detection icon up, but they still are following the trail of where your smoke's being laid and using that to put rounds where they think you are. And there were quite a few times when I took a lot of heat that way, a lot longer than I thought I should have. But
oh yeah, for sure, it doesn't really surprise me there. So yeah, smoke circles finally coming to the base client. Thank the Lord. A slightly more controversial change, though. Now they're giving situational awareness to everyone.
Hold on. Before we get back to that,
okay.
With the smoke one, I can't remember, and I forgot to test it today. one of the things was there's a 2-second delay that they're adding to when you press it to when it starts. And I don't think it does that now. I think it's instantaneous, isn't it? When it starts letting the smoke as soon as you hit the button.
As soon as you hit the button, like it spawns a circle.
So I don't know. 2 seconds is a long time when you hit that and you expect it to start. So
maybe. Yeah.
I
think
it's something to
it's
plan
just,
for. There's going to be more than 1 or 2 times when I'm sure why isn't it going out?
Yeah. I mean, I guess we'll have to wait and see. I think it's mostly just one of those things where sometimes if your destroyer is running around at like max speed and you pop smoke, you pretty much will drop that smoke circle and basically immediately drive out of it, and just be spotted like immediately. And it's basically roughly, I think, the same. You're exposed for, I think, roughly the same amount of time as you normally would if you're just running at max speed and just trying to get away, as just waiting 2 seconds for a smoke circle to drop. But the advantage obviously would be that in that 2 seconds you could slow down considerably and hopefully fade into smoke and not come back out.
I think that's what it is. It's anticipating the slow down speed and trying to take some of that I've wasted my smoke out of it. But I mean, with that now, they're adding the 12.5 knot threshold. And I guess I'm okay with that. It makes it more definitive. You don't get the blinking, right? Which I guess is what they wanted to get rid of. But I don't know. I thought the blinking was kind of interesting, honestly.
Personally, as a battleship and cruiser and CV player, like I want the blinking. I need those random updates of where that stupid destroyer is, so I can time my shots and hopefully nail him.
Yeah, I mean, if he's full speed and he's laying smoke, then yeah, I mean, it should be something like that. So I don't know. Again, I think most of the smoke stuff's a quality of life thing, really more for anticipation. I don't see it having huge gameplay effects. So I think it falls into the quality of life. Like the voice chat. The matchmaker one, I think, is
we'll
not
touch on that
later.
later.
You want to save that for later?
Well, I mean, let's stay on topic here. But yeah, I agree. For the most part, these changes probably aren't going to be earth-shaking. But something that is a bit more divisive that I brought up earlier: situation awareness. Everybody has it now.
I'm all right. I guess. I mean, everyone was going to have it anyway. It's a tier 1-point skill, and if you look at across the board what you get, I mean, I would like to talk to somebody who says, no, I don't need it. I would like to talk to them and get the reasoning and have them convince me to not take it. So to me, in the end, everyone takes it. It's a quality of life change. It's irrelevant anymore. If it's not a choice, then why put it in the game as a choice, right? Other than to make you feel like you have a choice, but you don't. You're going to take it. You take it every time. If you care about being competitive and winning, you're going to take it. So it's like all those modules, right? Consolidating them. Does it really matter? All it did was change the ones that you always take anyway. There weren't much changes, and I think they're really there just for a money sink, right?
Yes, yeah. I mean, I agree with the sentiment that, for most players who know what they're doing, situational awareness was a no-brainer. Like, a lot of people assume that that's like strictly a destroyer skill. It's not. Like, once you sort of like learn the ropes of the game and sort of play more and more games, you realize that situational awareness is useful for quite literally everybody.
Yeah, if you're in a cruiser or a battleship and that icon pops up, you're like, I'm turning, I'm changing my speed, because you know the rounds are coming.
Every ship, finds it useful. But that's us. That's those of us who have played the game enough, or have learned from experience enough to understand the importance of situational awareness. But there is still, if you ever go to hey guys, help me choose captain skills thread on Reddit or the forums or whatever, there is an alarmingly large number of people out there who, whether they're CV players who believe that basic firing training is better for them, or battleship players who again BFT or basic survivability is better for them. There's a very huge number of people out there who don't understand the power of situational awareness. and that they're getting, and they're just all just gonna get the skill for free.
Well, so what are you saying? You would have rather them live in darkness and then you take advantage of them? Is that what you're saying?
Frankly, I don't mind if they're ignorant to the advantages. Like,
so
like
you've got your DD hat on. Is what you got, right? You got your you got your Japanese destroyer hat on now, right?
Yeah,
I don't want
pretty
him
much.
to have situation awareness. I want to troll him.
Not even the IGN DD hat. U.S. battleship concealment build hat is on. My CV hat is on. Like CV players don't realize how incredibly useful it is to have that skill, because it'll tell you if you're being sniped back when that was popular, and sometimes it still happens. And B, it also tell you if like an enemy DD slipped past your team and that you need to like start looking for this guy. Like, these people, they don't realize, like, that's added information that there's no other way you could have gotten until like it's too late. But with that skill, you now have early warning. But they're going to get that now. So, overall, it's a huge boost, because for those of us who actively use situational awareness, we're basically getting one free captain point.
Well, so are you going through all your captains? This is the one that rubs me the wrong way. Is if you don't have a spare point on there, they're gonna choose tier 1 for you, and
they're gonna.
That's some BS, man. Because I don't want. Was it basic survival, whatever it is?
Yeah,
the one you never look at. That's how often I look at it. I don't even look at it.
I don't know if I would consider it a never look at, but a lot of people would probably take BFT over it. But I think it's a fair pick. Like, if you're wargaming and you had to apply this population wide change, basics of survivability is like a pretty safe pick. I don't mind it, and frankly, after they remove situational awareness, unless you're still building towards 15-point captain, you literally have no points to spare at all whatsoever. You know what? That's probably going to be like another one of those 1-point skills you pick up after your captain gets all his core skills, right?
Maybe. I doubt it. Maybe. But
what else would you pick? What else would you pick?
Well,
like, suppose you have
right?
a 15-point captain, right? You've got your 5th tier skill.
What ship?
You just
what ship
earned
are we
your 16th point.
What ship are we on?
Any ship. All
right. So for me, I wouldn't take it if I'm being greedy or stingy. Call it whatever you want, because I don't want to spend doubloons to respec it. I'm probably going for another 4-tier skill, right? And for somebody
first of all, hold on, I'm going to stop you right there, because first of all, you can't.
15 plus 4 is what?
19. But hold on, that 19th point skill, how much experience do you need to get it?
Crap load.
How many experience points?
There's some people who play this game without premium and don't want to spend money on it or whatever, right? So
look, point is like once you take away situational awareness in tier 1, for virtually every ship, maybe except for battleships and carriers, it's gonna be BFT and basic survivability.
That's true. But so
right?
say I got a ship and I don't have that, right? I've my next point's going to be BFT, which it almost always is if I don't take it first or whatever the state is. I don't want to go from situational awareness to ship survivability ever. I want my BFT. And to me, it smacks of they could go back and reset the captain points and you could go do it. But you know what? Then you don't have to spend doubloons to redistribute your points. But they could reset it. They've done it once before. So why don't they just reset them and let you repick them again?
First of all, in that scenario that you just laid out, it sounds like you have like a 15-point captain and you're about to get your 16th point, right? And you currently only have situational awareness at tier 1, and the next point that you're going to get, you're going to put in BFT, right? Is that correct? Is that the scenario that's
for that
accurate?
one? Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So when the patch hits and you get basic survivability, you do realize for that temporary moment you have a 16-point captain basically. You have both situational awareness and ship survivability, and that next point you can still put into BFT.
Yeah, but I want it in BFT now. I don't want it. I don't want to waste the point. It's still a wasted point. Exactly, right?
It's not.
Why should you have
it's not.
to?
You're getting SA for free. You're getting situational awareness for free. Like so suppose I give you BFT right now. What's the next skill you're going to pick when you do get that 16th point?
I'm going to sit on it.
Survivability, probably.
I'm going to sit on it.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not taking survivability. I don't think I'll ever take survivability. Only if it was
That's
like the last thing, or I said, "Oh, I've got more doubloons than I know what to do with. Why don't I just keep respecking every point I get?"
if you say so, if you say so. I, for one, I'm just basically not miffed for the most at all.
Or just give me the point back and let me put it in whatever first tier skill I want. I don't know. That probably breaks something, but you should have that
Probably.
choice. You should have that choice. It shouldn't default to that.
I mean, I'll agree that having a choice would have been nice, but I mean, it's also not something that really bothers me. Like basic survivability was a skill that I was probably going to pick up sooner or later on my ships, anyways. So,
I don't know. With premium consumables and all that other stuff, it's whatever. I mean, how often do you truly burn out these days where that would have kept you alive? Like you could probably count on one hand the number of times where you're like, oh, you know what? That 15% of 60 seconds would have really saved my life.
maybe. But I mean, I'm looking through all my ship captains, and there's so far I think maybe only one ship where I might be slightly inconvenienced because I'll have basic survivability instead of basic firing training. But yeah, I mean, all my other captains, I have like a spare point that I can bump into BFT before the patch hits, anyways. So
Yeah, I mean, most
Yeah.
of them I've got spare points, so it's whatever. But it just that one irks me a little. All right. That
All
being
right.
said, we'll agree to disagree on that.
I think that's fine. I mean, this is something that a lot of people feel very strongly about, as our conversations with our clanmates has revealed. Doesn't bother me in the slightest, but it apparently is the end of the world to some people.
To me, it's the end of the world to me.
Okay, all right.
I'm gonna go take it out on co-op battles.
You do that. All right, let's move on. So let's see here. Vexa on Reddit was kind enough to do some data mining on the 5.9 public test patch, and they uncovered a number of changes that were not listed in the official notes. The biggest of which, a number of matchmaking changes to some ships, specifically low tier, tier 3 and 4 cruisers, and what looks to be like tier 4 destroyers. They basically are making it so that it's, you can only see plus one tier above you now. So if you're like in a 10 Ryu or St. Louis, you will now only see up to tier 4 instead of, up to tier 5. And the other change is for tier 6, 7, and 8 carriers. They're also getting the same treatment. So if you're in a tier 6 carrier, the highest tier you can now see is tier 7. And with Lexington and Shokaku, you will now, you will no longer see tier 10s.
So what about tier 7 cruisers?
Tier 7 cruisers have seen no change, nor has tier 5 cruisers seen any change. But tier 4 cruisers only see up to tier 5 now.
Yeah, so I like the direction, and I hope the population supports that. I wonder how the troll divisions will break that matchmaker, though. Do you think it'll?
I mean, troll divisions are going to break it no matter what. As for what happens if, say, I guess if you're like a tier 10 ship and you queue with like a tier 8 cruise CV.
Or no, I'm talking the super troll, right? I'm a tier 8 and I brought my tier 4 buddy.
Oh, I think nothing's going to change there.
Yeah, I think that'll still stay broken, but I don't know why they don't do the +1 for all in general. If the population or the algorithms are there to support it, why you can't just do that for all? Because there's some really awkward groups in there between 7 and 9.
I mean, I imagine it's mostly for the sake of matchmaking. Like if you slap too many restrictions on the matchmaking, you slow down the number of matches that get fired off. And so I think they're just targeting specific ships and classes that suffer the most from being like lowest tier.
But the biggest suffering is the bridge from 7 to 8. That is the hardest and biggest and most awkward transition of all of it for all ships, really. I mean, it's a little less from like a Nagato to an Amagi, right? That's not a big deal. But say from a soft York to a Hipper, it's a big deal. From a Colorado to a North Carolina, that's huge. did you want me to go on? I thought that illustrates the point.
No, I mean it's an awkward jump, but you could argue like that also exists at tier 6 and 7, right? U.S. cruisers go from Cleveland to Pensacola. Battleships see, they go from their 12, 14-inch guns to only 8, 16-inch guns. I mean, there's a shift in playstyle there too.
It's not. I'm not talking about playstyle. I'm just talking about ship lethality, right? Like the difference between 7 and 8 is huge. The difference between North Carolina and Iowa, yeah, there's a difference, but you don't come in North Carolina and you're like, oh man, I might as well just go park on the blue line. But,
I mean, that's more of a. I feel like that's more of a just ship balance thing more so than. I feel like that's more on ship balancing than say, game systems. I I just don't know if that's the change. The difference there is enough to warrant like a huge change, because I mean. Part of it is, basically sort of, a nod towards history, right? Like 7 and 8, that's like the Washington Naval Treaty right there, affecting, like, say, battleships and cruisers, sort of. Like that's where that treaty sort of shows up in the designs of the ships. But as for performance, I mean, yeah, Nagano to Amagi is bit harsh, but that's sort of mirrored also in the Kongo and Fuso. You go from 8 guns to a ton of guns of the same caliber.
Well, that's true, but I think it's less there because at least with the Kongo, one, it's still a pretty tough ship and it's super fast compared to anything else at those tiers.
True. Yes.
So it's got it. I mean, yeah, granted, it doesn't have the same amount of guns, but a good Kongo player. I wouldn't say, he's going to be a Fuso every time, but you at least, do something in the match.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. In my games in tier 7, it always sucks to be low tier. And for some ships, yes, you're right. There is a pretty noticeable, gap in capabilities going from ship to ship.
So like right now, you drop in an Atlanta or an Indianapolis, and you come up against a Rune. Or an Ibuki. I mean, come on, man.
I mean, that's a 2-tier jump. Any ship's gonna suffer under that.
Yeah,
if you're in the NC and you come against a Yamato, you're probably gonna be using the same swear words.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just way
just
it
make
is.
Just make it +1. Just make it +1. It's that easy. I'm sure it is. No,
I'm
sure
maybe,
it's not. But
hopefully one day, if the game has a sort of population to support that kind of matchmaking, they do add it in because obviously it's better that way. But I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and give Wargaming the benefit of the doubt and say that the reason why it's still +2 for most ships is due to matchmaking.
Oh, I'm absolutely sure it has to do with population, and
Right,
I'd rather
yeah.
have the game than not have the game. It's just, at some point it'd be nice to get there, but I don't know. Carriers, whatever.
Something down the line.
I think the tier 8 carrier should fight tier 10 AA all day long, but that's just me. No love for your carriers. No love.
Haters everywhere, man. Just ridiculous amounts of haters.
Again, tier 9 dive bombers on a tier 7 destroyer that never, ever miss. Ever. You will lose half your health if it picks you. It's like Russian roulette.
A recurring theme in today's episodes just seems to be that your experiences and my experiences are just diametrically opposite.
Well, did you play a destroyer against a Saipan?
I have, and I have been on both the receiving and giving ends of that particular equation.
Did you ever miss with the Saipan?
Yeah.
Oh man, you go talk to Sean.
I have missed.
Go talk to Sean. Get some retraining.
Well, that's the problem with the Saipan's dive bombers. Like, there's nothing you as a player can manually do to improve your odds of landing those bombs.
Yeah, that's a problem.
I mean, is that like a big flaw? Probably, maybe. I mean, I don't know.
Here's a giant circle. Is the ship in it? Yep. We're good.
The problem with that is much deeper than just a Saipan. It's a problem with dive bomber RNG in general, and that's just something that will have to be addressed when Wargaming finally deems bother to fix dive bombers versus, say, torpedo bombers and carrier loadouts.
We're digressing back into rank because I was gonna bring up.
Let's
talk about the premiums and the preponderance of those in ranked, but let's let it go. We'll let it go.
let's move on for now to some other changes that got data mined. Next patch, Atlanta is getting radar. It's going to be a completely separate slot, so it's just an extra consumable on the Atlanta, and is the identical to what the Indianapolis gets.
Yeah, that'll be decent.
It's something that they're adding strictly to make it more different from the Flint. Will it save the Atlanta? Honestly,
Nope.
probably not.
No, it's not going to save the Atlanta.
Atlanta is still going to suffer. So that's that. Moving on.
Yeah, I like the Atlanta, but it's so soft. If somebody decides to shoot you, and whenever I see an Atlanta, I'm like, let's shoot that because it's going to be fun, right?
Right. Yeah. It's a ship that you have to work very hard to make it shine. Versus say ships like the Zhao or Tirpitz, whatever, where it's just in the course of playing it just shines. All right. Some other stuff. The rest of the stuff is related to German battleships, which we'll touch upon after this. But they're buffing the bastions, the forts.
Whatever. I mean, whatever. Whatever.
Actually, at this point, why don't we take a quick detour and talk about Bastion? Have you played a lot of Bastion games?
I have not seen it a lot. I actually, in the last 100 games that I've played, I have not seen it.
I've seen it a few times, like yesterday, and just like very sparsely before that. You know what? Honestly, it doesn't seem to be that different from just plain old domination.
Well, again, I haven't, and the times I have seen it previous to this, I haven't seen it as a destroyer. I haven't seen the cap protected by a bastion and tried to take it as a destroyer. So I don't know. And I didn't even go back and look at it and see, because even in the game I wasn't really shooting them. Someone else did. Whether or not it's like just a damage farm and credit farm, right, for doing damage. So I don't know. I did once see a CB decide to bomb it instead of a destroyer. I have seen
easy
that.
targets.
Yeah, it's like, I get free damage, so sweet. All right, we're back from our short break there. I don't know what you had to do, but I'm sure it was awesome. Before we move on, I forgot to tell you, and I don't know if we've said it on the show or not, but Q finally got back to us. Not me yet. I'm still waiting for the email. But he's going to bring the Chieftain on the show, so that's going to be wicked fun as we start talking about German battleships here. But just thought I'd throw that out there. So where were we? German battleships?
We're just finished talking about Bastion. Let's move on to German battleships.
All right. So I was hoping the Scharnhorst would be in the premium shop sometime very shortly. But it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. And that goes into that whole realm. Before we even start talking about the whole tree, since that one everyone's kind of seen in game, goes into the, do the ships suffer or not suffer based on who or not the super testers are and how they perform in game, with something that's kind of new like that. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that one?
Well, the Scharnhorst is clearly already suffering. I think earlier this week, someone on the Russian forums, one of the developers, said that according to testing, the Scharnhorst is already overperforming. And according to the data mined files, the developers has just shaved 1,100 damage off the Scharnhorst's AP, from 8,700 to 7,600.
Yeah, well, at least, I guess that's definitely a nerf, no question. But I don't know. If you're looking at it and you look at how many shells, pen, and all that kind of stuff, maybe it's not that big of a nerf to say maybe if they'd change the armor scheme some, or change the rate of fire, or something like that, or change the dispersion even. So I think as far as nerfs go, that's kind of minor, but I guess we'll see how that turns out. But again, it goes into the overperforming, I guess, compared to what? And I don't think there is a better way to do it ahead of time, and they'll have to go back doing the balance, post release. But I don't know. It's an awkward transition, right?
I feel like for the most part, wargaming has been pretty successful in avoiding having to, patch a lot of premiums post-release. Some of it is just their own, unwillingness to, buff or nerf premium ships. The Grimiashi and Imperator Nikolai come to mind. But for the most part, I feel like they've been pretty good about hitting the mark with their ships. As for the Scharnhorst, we'll have to wait and see. Maybe it was indeed overpowered. And, I'm also sort of hoping that, wargaming's, when making these balance changes, they look at more than just, say, super tester feedback, but also, like hard numbers across the server. Given the benefit of doubt, we're, just going to say, okay, maybe Scharnhorst AP a tad overpowered, so maybe this nerf was, needed.
Yeah, as far as nerfs go, it sounds kind of minor. So as long as that's the only one, I don't know. I'm excited about seeing the ship. I think the biggest drama with it, though, is how it's going to relate to its sister ship in the tree and which set of guns are available. So my understanding right now is that the Scharnhorst is only going to have the 11s available, and that the Gneisenau is only going to have the 15s. Although if you look at some of the tech tree stuff, if you've got like the unreleased ship mods and all that kind of stuff, you'll see it's still got both in there, I thought. But
when I first read the leaks, it sounded like the Gneisenau was indeed only going to have its 15-inch guns, and I sort of held out the hope that, maybe the data miners had it wrong. But there was like a lengthy post on the Russian forums from the developers basically laying out the reasons for why the Gneisenau is only going to have its proposed 15-inch guns instead of, having the 11-inch guns and having the 15-inch guns as an upgrade. Sort of like how the Mogami right now, Mogami can choose between 155s and 203s.
Right. So, what are the top three what's the top reason why it's only going to have the 15s?
Well, I think most of it boils down to, I think two main reasons they said. First was it just felt like a more natural progression. Like German battleships, up until tier 6 are 11 inchers or something like that. I can't remember exactly the number off the top of my head. But there's just a very gradual and very, regular, consistent, growth in gun caliber going up the tiers. And when you go from a tier 6 German battleship sporting 15-inch guns to a Gneisenau, which, in the stock configuration only gets 11-inch guns, they say that, players feel kind of put off by that. So that's one reason, so that, the Gneisenau, flows more naturally within the tree. And number two, it's so that the Scharnhorst has something unique about it, in that it has its historically accurate 11-inch gun armament. Because you'll have to recall, the Gneisenau will also get torpedoes. I think it's going to be, the first tech tree battleship with torpedoes in it. So it's not like the Tirpitz and Bismarck, where the Tirpitz can sport torpedoes. Both ships are going to have torpedoes, and so the way that they're going to differentiate between the two, the Scharnhorst's unique thing is going to be that it's historically accurate armaments.
Yeah, I guess you wouldn't be able to sell it if it was identical to the tech tree version, right?
Yeah, pretty much. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, speaking of premiums, before we talk about the rest of the tree, you missed the Krasny. Tell me you took the opportunity to buy the Krasny.
No, I did not buy the Krasny.
I think that's the first time I've seen one where I wasn't even tempted a little. Not even a little. It didn't even cross my mind.
It's clearly a ploy on Wargaming's part to throw off all those, Russian bias people. They're like, look, this is a Russian ship, and it sucks. There's no Russian bias here.
You can polish it, and it still looks the same. Sweet. Yeah, no, I don't know. I thought it was funny when that one came. I was like, no, this is supposed to be the Scharnhorst, but it's not. So,
well, I'm still holding out hope that the Scharnhorst drops before the rest of the German tech tree, but I don't think it's gonna happen. I'd be pleasantly surprised if it did, though.
Yeah, maybe a week or two before the patch goes live or something like that. Probably.
Maybe. Although with the direction that super testers are taking, it's going to be nerfed significantly, and maybe I won't buy after all.
Yeah, maybe they just don't do it at all, and they just give the Gdańsk 11-inch gun choice, right?
Yeah, maybe all this testing the Scharnhorst just to see if 11-inch guns at tier 7 could be viable.
Yeah, totally. And then you put 12 inches on an Alaskan, we're good. We're good to go. Yeah, that's right. See, they can do it. It can happen. And you can have something that's not a cruiser gun and that's not a battleship gun. It'll work.
There you go.
All right, so battleship tree. I think the 9 and 10 are the most confusing. The bigger and the bigger, I think is how it comes down
much.
to, right?
Yeah, tier 9 is just a supersized Bismarck, and tier 10 is just a giant middle finger to the Montana.
Yeah. You're like, oh, you thought you were big and huge? Okay, great. And then it still seems like there's a guess about whether or not you're going to have gun choices between the two. And also 12, 17-inch guns. I mean, that's going to be awesome.
It'll be a sight to see. It'll be a sight to see. I will say though, from the data mined values, despite being 17 inches, the German AP's performance is on par with the American 16-inch.
Performance how?
In terms of damage.
Yeah,
Damage.
it's all about pin rate, not raw damage. It's all about how it penetrates armor that matters.
Well, that we're just gonna have to sort of wait and see, I guess.
I mean, I'll take a lower damage Citadel over a non-Citadel all day long. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. Although I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed you don't see torpedoes on the 9 and the 10. I mean, outside of the Bismarck, and I think it having a slightly larger armor value. I think at one point it was 10 millimeters. I haven't seen it recently on some of the belt stuff in the Citadel. Not having the torpedoes. I feel like at this point, after playing the Turpus for so long, that you should just give all the German battleships torpedoes. That's their thing.
I mean, I'm generally in favor of just giving battleships torpedoes or just any sort of armament, variety besides just our main guns. But from the looks of it, German battleships are going to be already incredibly powerful brawlers. They probably don't need the torpedoes, although it would be nice.
Yeah, but occasionally you'll catch a destroyer napping that decides they want to close in and you torp them. That's always hilarious.
That is the best. That is the best. Every time a Torpus torpedo connects with a destroyer hull, an angel gets its wings.
That's a true story. True story.
Yep.
I mean, before that, I'm excited about doing the German battleship line, but I don't know. I think I'm probably going to skip with XP up to probably 6, I think. You going to skip or are you going to play the whole thing?
I'm still kind of torn. On one hand, I kind of do at least want to see, what the German dreadnought experience is like. But I'm probably going to skip 3 and 4, like for sure. Battleships at tier 3 and 4 are just nothing but misery and punishment.
Well, so
Wyoming they're there to keep out the people who don't have the guts to hack it as a battleship.
Oh yeah, you haven't paid your penance before getting to the good battleships. I don't know.
I paid it in the Japanese line and the American line. I think I've paid my dues.
The Kawachi was the worst experience of all time.
I mean, again, both the tier 3 battleships in general are all pretty painful experiences.
Well, I know people will be screaming when they hear the 3 and 4, even the Wyoming, and all the SEAL clubbers who love the Wyoming. Like, it just anything before you get to 5 and 6, it just I don't understand the fun in there. Like, I don't understand the fun of the Wyoming. I'm sure I'm missing it. I'm sure the people who love clubbing in the Wyoming love it. And I'm sure there's great reasons for it.
It's the shotgun.
I don't know. I can't do it. I'm too impatient for that.
Join the club. I mean, again, that's probably why I'm going to skip tiers 3 and 4 in German battleships. But from there on out, I mean, we'll see. And obviously, my interest has always been in high tier ships. But I mean, who knows? Maybe there's a gem in there somewhere along that lines before the high tier stuff that may be worth holding on to.
Yeah, so my guess is we're going to see a lot more German battleships in the Tier 8 than we see. Well, I think we'll see less Montanas and more German Tier 10s than we even do now. It should at least add an interesting mix and dynamic. We'll see how it performs, but my guess is it's going to be better than the Montana, I think.
I mean, on paper, like it's a bit of a mixed bag. That tier 10 German battleship actually has like, it only has like 88,000 health or something. But with its turtleback armor scheming, which a lot of people anticipate it will have, like it's just going to be impossible to Citadel, kind of like at the Tirpitz right now. So we'll see.
You know, I don't know. Maybe it's just me again. It could just be now that the game's been going long enough that I've noticed. But I've seen a lot more Citadels on Yamatos lately than I had previously. Maybe the player base is getting better. I don't think that there's all of a sudden that uptick or spike in skill. So I'm not sure that's it. There's been no official or data mined or any kind of nerfs out there. It's just even in some tier 8 battleships, I've seen way more Yamato Citadels, especially at 12, 13K than I did previously. And maybe, I don't know. Have you noticed or at least felt there's a change, even if there wasn't one? Maybe it's the type of person playing it right now. I don't know.
I think it's just you. I mean, Yamato Citadels for me at least. Nothing seemed more common or more rare about them at the moment. They occur generally around when I expect them to occur, and they generally don't occur when I don't.
Well, they've happened in groups. I've seen double and triple Citadel hits before, which I'd never seen previously. Never seen a triple Yamato Citadel hit ever, and I've seen a couple of times in the last week or so.
You.
Yeah. Maybe I'm just better at shooting, but it wasn't me shooting. So.
I mean, yeah, I don't know, man. Like you said, I mean, nothing official or data mine has been found to suggest that anything's been changed.
Although, could you make a change to that ship and tell anybody? I mean, could you really do it? Even if you knew it was the thing to do, could you actually make a change and not have like a player base revolt?
With the Yamato, probably not. There's a lot of Yamato fans out there, and there's a lot of people who got into the game hoping to one day get their own Yamato. So any sort of nerf there is gonna spark civil unrest.
Okay. Yeah, civil unrest.
Yeah. But I mean, I personally am open to changes. But I personally would prefer to see other ships buffed rather than the Yamato nerfed. Because, whether we like it or not, the Yamato really is indeed a pretty unique ship as far as, these battleships are concerned. Largest ever constructed battleship, 18-inch guns, this and that.
I think the rub comes where you get 2 Yamatos on one team and 2 Montanas on another.
Right, yeah, definitely.
And honestly, though, sometimes it seems like fate just has it in. The Yamato team loses. I don't know what it is or why it is, but it just seems to happen that way. Maybe everyone's more focused.
It still boils down to the player, right? I mean, whenever people do like those Yamato and Montana comparisons, it's always with the assumption that both players are equal, right? Like both players, same skill level, this and that. Yamato will win. But obviously, if you have a really terrible Yamato player, they're going to get stopped by the Montana like every game. Simple as that. No questions asked. Sometimes that's just what happens. Yeah, I mean, I've been on teams where it's like, oh hey look, we've got the Yamatos and they only have the Montanas, and like 7 minutes later it's like, holy crap, where'd our Yamatos go? And there's like 3 Montanas barreling down at you, and it's just like, oh okay, well,
roasting s'mores on it. That's what's happened.
Yeah, clearly.
So I think there was only one other thing out of all the news lately that I was interested in, and frankly there's nothing on it. It was that one model thing they did on the German destroyers, and the one note in there was that they had 150 millimeter guns. Was it 150 or 155? 150. And so I never thought I'd see a destroyer that had bigger guns than the Russians. But if that's true, and it holds true that at least if they were going to put that model and they do the video for you, one would assume that they're going to hold true to that. And I think it'll be interesting to have a destroyer with even bigger guns than what's already out there, destroyer-wise. Although it says it's a big ship, so I don't know. Somewhere between a Kiev and Atlanta, I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, there's a lot of design space for a war game to explore as far as ships are concerned, right? Like
the British. Oh,
I
that's
mean-
right. The Dunkirk is supposed to come out too, right?
Yes. French, I think, tier 6
forgot.
battleship.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I totally forgot about it. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think
We'll
that's
see.
the one with the stacked turrets, right?
Stack turrets? No, it's the one with 2 front turrets with quad barrels each, and like only secondaries in the back.
Trying to picture it. I have to look it up. I can't remember.
It's just two. It's just 2 quad turrets, super firing at the front.
Oh, all right. Well, I don't know. It should be non-emotional. I think it'll be interesting. I don't know if I'll buy it, but
I mean, we'll see. I mean,
Was there
to be
any
fair,
other-
I don't really know like the history of the ship, so it's something I'm gonna look it up on Wikipedia. We'll see. But I think it's supposed to be tier 6. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, I was actually surprised to hear that's tier 6 because looking at it, if you just like look at it, like it looks like a post World War I style design kind of thing, which most tier 6 battleships in this game aren't quite. Right? Like, I think New Mex and the Fuso were both sort of like right around World War I era ships, I think. So, and the Dunkirk, for whatever reason, just to my eyes at least, it looks more like a just before World War II design. So to see it at tier 6 is a little bit confusing. But other than that, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. I haven't really seen or heard anything about it, so we'll see. We'll see what the French Navy battleship gimmick is going to be.
yeah, I guess it comes in, at the very end of the game. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know.
We'll see,
I just
indeed.
heard rumor. I'm not sure. And after the Krasny and the Scharnhorst, I don't know. I would like to see like at least another British ship in the game that
I mean,
make it a
wouldn't we all?
premium or not a premium. Maybe not a whole line, but give us something. Maybe a cruiser. I don't know. It's just I can't imagine not having them in the game for another year or something like that.
Well, don't hold your breath.
Well, yeah, I guess. But
Well, actually, no,
if-
that's not true. Because I think they said like after German battleships hit, odds are the next line to come out will be Royal Navy cruisers. I think I've read that somewhere. I have no confirmation of this, so don't quote me on this. But I remember reading somewhere saying that there's some sort of Royal Navy line coming.
Do you remember how much it is to? I saw it somewhere. How many credits it takes if you were going to go from tier 2 to tier 10 in a line to purchase everything? And I can't remember what that number was. It was something huge, but
Third number.
absurd. Yeah, something absurd. I don't know, like 80 million, 100 million, something like that. If you buy all the modules and crap.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I guess I could sort of see that.
Oh,
I feel
well.
like, yeah, who knows? We'll see. Why are you
Ca-
planning
ca-
on just buying out the entire German line?
I was thinking about it, right? I got 62 million saved up right now, and I want to buy the Moskva, but I've been putting it off because at least I tell myself now I'm gonna play more of the battleships in the German line, but chances are it'll be like, no, I just got to get there, and I'll skip a bunch. So maybe I won't need all that cash, and I can just buy the Moskva now. But I don't know. If I got another month, I probably have plenty of time to eat that loss.
Right. Yeah.
All right.
We'll see.
Well, I think that pretty much wraps up anything relevant that's happened in the last couple of weeks, unless you can think of anything. But again, rank done. I would imagine we'll see a team battles come back around here soon.
Maybe. I'm the only thing I'm looking forward to in the immediate future, next few days or weeks, hopefully, will be our ranked reward ship. Because the Fleet's supposed to come out, missing 2 turrets compared to Atlanta, but you're supposed to have the the dual Bofors is medium range AA, Mahan level torpedoes, and smoke. So I mean, we'll see. We'll see.
Oh yeah. So you said the next few days? I didn't see any notes on when that might be released.
Well, that's why I said either within the next few days or next few weeks or whenever that, just like the immediate future. I anticipate we'll get the Flint before we see the German battleships or Scharnhorst or anything else. So, yeah.
Well, that'd be good, especially with like some viable torpedoes. Then all of a sudden, it's a little more interesting to play, especially if it's got the same detection range. But again, we'll see.
I'm not holding my breath. I mean, I'm just looking forward to it, just because it's a new ship technically. But I'm pretty sure after like a game or two, it's gonna get relegated to the same. Gonna get parked right next to my Atlanta.
Yeah,
gathering dust.
Yeah, you forget you have it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I tried to dust out the Atlanta again today, but getting up tiered into tier 8s. If you're anything like tier 8 and above in the Atlanta, it's brutal. But all right, man. I think we'll call it. Call it there. All right, man. Definitely. I'll see you next week.
Yep, till next week.